Hey everybody, we're back, and now we're going to be talking with David. And David, I'll let you introduce yourself to you, but we're going to be talking specifically about family business. And so a lot of times in the event world, whether it's catering or venues or even the event management, a lot of times we see a lot of people bringing in the family, and it starts out as something small, and okay, we need so the brother-in-law comes in, and then the sister comes in, and all that kind of stuff. So David, tell us a little bit about you and what you do in this here industry of ours.
Well, my name's David Lombardo. My family owns Lombardo's Meetings and Occasions. New tagline, pretty excited about it. And we have a 52,000 square foot venue and catering company based out of Boston, Massachusetts, just south of the city. And we're a fourth generation family business. We've been around for 92 years. Pretty long.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wow.
I'm like sitting here and I'm thinking about my own family business, and I'm like, how have you done this? Because earlier before we came on camera, I was like, how do you have a good family business? He goes, I don't know, maybe don't do it. So how have you made it work for 4 generations?
So for us, we spend a lot of time and energy on our family dynamics and our personal relationships, because we know how difficult working with your family can be. And so we apply a lot of energy and time into making sure that we actually like each other and get along. And then we also have very defined roles. And so when you're at work, you're an associate of Lombardo's. You're not necessarily a family member, and you operate within the roles of your title. And so I'm a general manager, and I oversee operations and sales, and I have to play that role and be that member of the family. And so we have very structured family meetings and very structured agendas and note takers and chairs, and we make sure that when it's time to work on the family business, we put on the family hat and we work on that. And when it's time to work on the business, we're working as that. So we really define our roles very well and stay within our boundaries. And so it's worked so far. And then we just genuinely like each other. And so, my cousin who I work with is my best friend, and my sister's there, and my father and my uncle are there. And so there's certain times where you go into their office and you can be their kid. But then there's other times where you're going to the office and you're the general manager. Yeah. And so as long as we define those really well, it's worked out really well for us.
It's the kind of thing that, as we're sitting here and I'm kind of thinking it through, it seems like that actually was more common, right? You get the family business, and, it passes on from generation to generation. And so it really shouldn't seem that odd, because it was certainly more common to do that. I'm curious, having been around for that long, are there things like management styles and things like that that have actually passed down for that entire time?
Yeah, so...
we usually think of things like recipes and stuff, but
sure.
I'm talking about like the management styles and things.
Yeah, definitely. We, what's unique about us is that my father's generation we call G3, and they own the business currently. And so there's 4 of them in the business who own that business, who and we work with them. And then there's 9 grandkids, or G4, which is what we're in, and there's 6 of us who work in the business. And so you're learning from previous generations about all different types of styles and what works and what doesn't. But we're also innovating and growing and coming up with new ideas. And our industry, as you guys know, is constantly changing and evolving. And so there's an old school mentality we call the G3 mentality, and then there's the G4 mentality that's pushing our family into the future. And so we always have them as a resource to go back. And so, we're constantly dealing with different issues and looking back at our past and saying this worked really well and this didn't work very well.
I like that a lot. There's an AV integrator we work with there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they are 3 generations. And the 2 sons, one's general manager and one is the kind of chief strategy officer from a sales perspective. They're about to buy the business from their parents so that the parents can go retire. And so they've been going through this very detailed and thorough auditing and accounting practice to ensure that it's not like the parents are getting the business sold for $2. They are really there's a whole strategy coming in, because they have 40 employees that work for them. And there are years that we will definitely not make any profit just to make sure that our staff is taken care of, because as a family business, it's not just our family, it's our people who work for us who are part of the family, because the lines can get blurred.
100%. Yeah.
So one of the questions I had, especially because money can be that source of conflict, how do you work through conflicts like that? Because I mean, I just think about how the conversation could even come up to say, well, Dad, we want to buy the business. And maybe he thinks that you're not good enough to do it, but he could do it. But I've got the better market value offer. So, I mean, that's one particular instance. But how do you guys mitigate the conflict inside?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're working through that kind of same type of thing right now, is transitioning ownership from generation 3 to generation 4. And so we've been going through the same type of things that your AV company down in Dallas is going through. And, you know, those conversations just have to be really open and honest and transparent. And so we wouldn't be working for our family if we weren't qualified to work there. Absolutely. And so one of the things that our G3 generation put into place was a protocol of how you enter the family business as a family member. And so there are check marks and things that you need to have done before you can get welcomed into the family business. So if you want to come on just a basic associate level and be a server, then yeah, my cousin Joe can come in and do that. But my cousin's only privy to certain information, and that's the same information that a server would be privy to. If I want to come in and join the family as a general manager, which I did, I had to look at that checklist and say, I've worked outside the business for over 5 years. I have experiences with P&Ls and balance sheets, and I've managed people, and I've checked all the boxes that they're looking for, which allow me to then do the job. And so for us, when there is conflict, it's really about just understanding that we're there for a reason, and we've earned the right to be there. It's not just because our last name's the same.
Yeah, so no nepotism. Really, it has the process just like any other business. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
and also, you need to share the checklist. Let's talk later.
I will send that out to you.
I'm curious to know, because a lot of times in non-family businesses, though, there's those close relationships also form, and so I would think that you think of it as your work family kind of thing a lot of times. What are some tips maybe that you've learned from having to deal with actual family that might translate to people who are just having those, just really deep personal relationships with their coworkers and establishing and keeping those boundaries?
I think what's important is, for us is when you're working is to treat everybody on the same level. And so even though that they're a family member or they're a regular associate, if you're building a deep relationship, that you make sure that it's based in the job that you're doing. And then, when it comes to having difficult conversations or do it behind closed doors, especially with our family members. Like if there's an issue between of us, we're going to sit in a room and we're going to have a conversation about it. And we're going to do it like we would with another associate. Like if you're going to discipline someone, you should always have a witness in the room. And so when we have family conversations, we're sitting together as a family and being really open and honest with the challenges that we may be having. But like everything, when you're working around people all the time, you're going to build some really great relationships. And it's a matter of, being open and trusting in that process of how to build a relationship. So we work at that a lot, and we do our best to protect those relationships as much as possible.
Fantastic. Well, where can people find more information about your venue and then some of the work that you might have been doing? Because I know if you put out on your blog some of these tips and tricks, everybody be out there resharing them.
So we are Lombardo's. Our website is lombardos.com. And then on Instagram is where we do a lot of social media posting, is Lombardo's events. And that's probably the best places to find us.
And I also know that you're not here in the capacity necessarily of representing the business. You're doing some work with Search Foundation.
Yep, I am here. I'm here not for business at all. I'm here strictly for the Search Foundation, and we are a nonprofit organization. If you don't know, that supports event professionals in crisis. So I've gotten a lot of questions. What is a crisis? And a crisis can be anything from the wildfires in California last year that really affected a lot of people's businesses, a hurricane that just hit in the Bahamas, or a loved one getting diagnosed with cancer, and it pulls you away from being able to do your job. Maybe you have to take a couple months off, and this is a hard industry. And so if you're not active in it, everyone's got bills to pay, and so you can apply to Search, and we're going to provide you with money to keep you on your feet. And in return, we just want you to be a great event professional moving forward. We don't look for you to pay us back or do anything like that. So we're raising money from event professionals for each other, for event professionals.
That's really taken it to the next level about family business, and I just got all like goosebumpy. So where would somebody find more information out about Search Foundation if they're not here at IMEX?
So searchfoundation.org is the best place to find our information. You can donate right there, and you can support by doing different fundraisers and things like that. And we have a couple big events throughout the year that we do. And so we're always looking for help. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And if you guys are in the area, go, because I've heard the red sauce is to die for.
It's pretty good.
So go and check them out. And we'll be right back in just a few minutes with our next guest.
Awesome. Thank you.